Welcome back to TYT Sports. Jason and Francis here. Ohio State looked shaky for one quarter, the second quarter. Going into the half, they were down 17-14. A couple mistakes made in the second quarter. But for the last two quarters of that game and the first quarter, they were very much showing why they're the number one overall team in the rankings and why many people are jumping to the conclusion on Twitter of give me Ohio State, you can take the field, because it does look like Urban Meyer's squad, who is full of beyond talented offensive players, maybe one of the best offenses. And that's a very, again, I'm jumping to the conclusion, but this might be one of the best offenses we've seen in college football in a long time, because the amount of star talent on this team, endless. You watched the game versus Virginia Tech. I know you loved it.
Unbelievable game, because, I mean, sitting with a bunch of football fanatics, everyone's kind of looking to Ohio State, obviously the national champions. You're looking to see how they're going to perform, because it is, don't get me wrong, no matter how good you are, when you come out being the national champions, everyone's going to look at you. You need to try, the spotlight's on you. You need to try and somehow go another level up from what was there previous last season, because everyone's got their eyes on you. Everyone studied their tape basically in and out to see how you, everyone studies tape in American football all the time anyway, but everyone's studying you to see how you reached that level last season, and they're out there to basically get you. So that start was interesting to me, because it looked like they were shaky. It looked like the nerves got to them a little bit, that the pressure of potentially being the team to repeat this season got to them. But as you mentioned, like, it seemed like the second half they came out a completely different team with some unbelievable plays, if you don't mind.
I want to make the very quick point. In the first quarter, they looked like the same Ohio State team. There was just a simple, like, 13-minute window where they just looked a little shaky, and there was a couple turnovers, and because of that, the conclusion was made by some people of Virginia Tech's going to win this game. No, they weren't. They were going to get destroyed, and they did, because the offensive threat, and by the way, Virginia Tech is a competent football program. They're not a joke program that got the first game of the season against Ohio State, unfortunately. But here's what the internet reacted to, as well as the rest of the world, because Braxton Miller went from quarterback to wide receiver, and that only left other five-star quarterback Cardale Jones for Ohio State, who was told on the first offensive series right before it of the game by Urban Meyer, sorry, JT Barrett, Cardale Jones is starting. I wasn't sure.
And that's unbelievable, and it exemplifies the talent that you mentioned in this team, is the fact is that you get that much competition.
They have three quarterbacks, 200, it never ends.
And so explain to me here, right, so with, explain the gentleman, is it Braxton Miller, did you say?
Yes, who's now wide receiver.
So, okay, so there's no doubt in my mind that obviously he doesn't just be suddenly like, okay, you're not going to start, but we're just going to put you in a wide receiver. Obviously they've tested it out, and they've understood that he's got an unbelievable talent, as Virginia Tech we're soon to see with one of the most ridiculous moves.
We can't use the highlight, obviously, because we'll get super flagged, but we have screenshots.
If you want, I can reenact it to Jason.
Francis can reenact it over me at one point. All right, so as you can see, number 54 and 88 for Virginia Tech are looking to push what they thought was going to be Braxton Miller out of bounds. Just that, and obviously not. Because in the next screenshot, you'll see that Miller spin move around. Woo! And then, of course, this needs to be noted, because Ezekiel Elliott, who is getting blocked by Braxton Miller, at least the view of him, laid into number 40 for Virginia Tech with a block that was not noted by any commentator. And thank you to SB Nation, because when I looked it up this morning and kept looking up more information about this spin move, they said nobody is talking about this block by Ezekiel Elliott. And no, of course, all the flash, all the show, all the spotlight goes on Miller for that amazing spin move that they were not expecting, and he runs into the house. So Braxton Miller's spin move, of course, got Twitter reactions to run through it. The first one was Dwayne Wade. That was straight Madden.
Nice, Dwayne Wade.
Madden, NFL's. There was another guy who also said straight to the circle move, which is a spin. Pat McAfee, who, by the way, a very talented and athletic punter for the Indianapolis Colts. If I was to attempt that full-speed Brax spin, great use. I'd blow out both my knees.
I love how it's called Brax spin.
Yeah,
he did a lot.
And by the way, his Twitter handle, Pat McAfee.
So what did you say he was? He's a very athletic kicker?
I was making a really unfortunate. I was making an unfair joke about punters. I shouldn't have done it. But don't worry. Justin Tuck allowed me to reintroduce myself. Jay-Z reference. My name is Braxton Miller.
How many Twitter followers do you think Braxton Miller got after that spin move?
He probably had a ton after winning the national championship.
I know, but just after that as well, though.
I think we have Uno Mas. One more. King James. I see you, little bro. Hit him with the silencer.
That's just life goals right there.
He's 17,000
retweets. I'm not like when I get like When I get 100, like 100 favorites, 100 retweets, I feel like my phone is about to explode and I'm going to throw it out. Imagine you get 17,000 retweets.
I think a lot of these athletes just text somebody to be like their PR person, like, hey, tweet this out for me.
And then that person's like, puts it on Do Not Disturb and just like, I'm not fucking touching it.
It's the vibration.
Or if you're really creepy, you put that phone. No, I'm joking. So if we can go back to that first screenshot for a sec. Going to make a good point here. Going to throw it out there, a good point. So can we go back to that first screenshot where it seems like it's about to happen? So from what I can see, looking at his helmet, he's clearly he's understanding that there may be a gap, right? So what I imagine is that he's already in his mind thinking that he's going to do this unbelievable spin move, which many people would think it's probably instinct to happen right there when you see two huge guys coming at you. But I'm going to ask you, Jason, is this not a clear advantage of his quarterback pass coming into this because he's got unbelievable vision, right?
Yes,
so he sees those holes. Which many people, I'm not taking away from any wide receiver, I'm just taking it into this example, is that he's already understanding that these two are coming at him, and the vision that he has as a quarterback, he understands that his partner there is going to block that gap for him and it'll create a seam. So
it's a clear example of high football IQ because, again, part of me thinks he's looking right, going, I'm going to make a spin move and go right.
Yeah.
The other part of me is thinking, I'm just sizing up these two defenders. I might just be able to beat them down the line. Of course, he can't see behind him, but Braxton Miller's football IQ, maybe it is that high. That he can see in 360 degrees. So he knows that Elliott's going for something that's close, but I don't think 40 was getting to Braxton Miller regardless.
Oh, no way.
It wasn't going to happen. But, again, it just shows the talent of the squad. Urban Meyer is a phenomenal and talent. I shouldn't say just talented. He just works with his players in a certain way that he's figured out that, yep, Cardale Jones is right to start a quarterback for right now. And JT Barrett got a few touches in that game. But just to go to the numbers of this offense, Braxton Miller had 6 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. He can run the ball. He had 2 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. He can catch the ball. We know he can throw the ball. Yeah. So you have to always keep in the back of your mind, and it happens in college football way more than the NFL, the trick play, that he can hook the ball downfield.
That must be petrifying.
It is petrifying. Cardale Jones, by the way, 9 of 18, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, 99 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott, 11 carries. It was just it's a balanced, spread out offense that they can do anything. And Virginia Tech is not a top 10 team in the nation.
Yeah.
It's going to be more interesting when they have to face, if they have any on the schedule, a tough SEC defense. I don't think they do. But if they get to the point of the college football playoff, that's the only team that I would like to jump to the conclusion now and can say safely, barring Michigan State, Wisconsin will get destroyed by them, and I'm a Wisconsin fan. Michigan State or a Jim Harbaugh turned around Michigan team, I don't see anybody else in the Big Ten. Nebraska lost to BYU. I'm ranting, but there's no one else in the Big Ten that plays like Ohio State, and that's such a refreshing thing to see. Because the Big Ten is let's run the football, it's constantly run the football.
Yeah.
They, on the other hand, can show what they are capable of and exploit the Big Ten's weaknesses of these fast-paced offenses.
Yeah, so with that, I want to ask you the question for that rant. Good rant. Coming into watching football, I'm starting to understand more, starting to watch more, and I feel that the more, so they have to be creative like this, right? Because when you're pitching, basically you're understanding your defense and how you can counteract this offense, the fact is it's basically a guessing game because you don't know whether they're going to run the ball because they've got quarterbacks that can run as if they were, and you've got a quarterback that can eventually turn over to be a receiver. So is this not representing what we see more with quarterbacks in general? Because I use, for example, Russell Wilson more.
In college, yes.
But does that transition over to the NFL? Does it transition more from what's happening in the NFL over to college?
The option doesn't. The option is a very college-oriented offensive system. The option basically meaning that you have 2 to 3, sometimes 4 in Oregon's at least options offense. And there's more spread offenses too. But in terms of college football, have you ever seen those plays where the quarterback will roll out to the right and running back, and they'll have like a wide receiver and he'll toss the ball out?
Yeah.
It doesn't work in the NFL.
Yeah.
The NFL's too fast for that to happen. And we've said, by the way, when I mean it doesn't work, you don't see it as much because the offenses and defenses are too advanced. They're too fast-paced. That's what any NFL players I've met and any friends I had in college that played even Division II or Division III that discuss the pace of play. That's the difference maker. Is you are either too slow to make it to the NFL, and that's usually like one of the major reasons why those college players don't make the jump. So again, back to the main point here and to answer your question, which I kind of forgot what your question was, but to answer your question, it's a refreshing thing to see Ohio State football in the Big Ten, even though I don't like the Buckeyes because I'm a Wisconsin Badger fan. Did I answer your question at all?
I mean, I think my question got mixed, and I think you answered part of it. I just mean that in terms of
Does it translate? Do we see? Is this why we see more Russell Wilsons and?
No, I mean, I think basically I wanted to say is that the idea of a quarterback being redefined is that you want a quarterback who can basically, who obviously can throw, but you need a quarterback that is able and understanding to be creative and switch up when people study your every move to be able to run.
I have the answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Thought it would be. It's just like when people are like, oh, did you ever see Johnny Football in his college days? And I watch it and I'm astounded because he does that. I guess that was what.
You should watch Russell. And this is a biased answer because Wisconsin, but also at NC State. Russell Wilson in his college days. Similar high football IQ. Drew Brees in his college days. Drew Brees was not as fast, but he's just 5'11".
Yeah.
Small, high IQ.
All right, well, question's partly answered. But and it helps when you've got three quarterbacks that can do all those three things and switch it up.
Just curious when Ezekiel Elliott, their running back, is going to start playing quarterback. 4 quarterbacks. Why not?
Nice.
Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Is it Ohio State versus the field, or is that way too much of a conclusion made, especially with the college football playoff in place? Again, the best thing that college football has done in my lifetime is the college football playoff. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you leave your thoughts in the comment section below, we get to interact with you.
And I'll come out and I'll talk about football and shit like that.